for joining me for Reverent Readings tonight. I am very sorry about last night to any of you who were trying to watch. There was some connection problem going on. I think I figured it out, so hopefully this episode will go better. So thank you all who have come back tonight to watch, and again, I just want to apologize for what happened last night, but thank you to those who have stayed and been loyal to me even when I have problems, so thank you very much for that. Just to go ahead and start off by saying to please go check out my Facebook page, The Well-Rounded Girl, and just go like that page. I post updates on there like last night when I was having issues about, just that there wouldn't be any reading last night, so check that out to stay up to date with that. Also, please subscribe to my channel. I post other videos besides this series, so please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on those. And please share this with your friends. You can copy the link from this live stream and share it with all your friends, email, Facebook, whatever. The link is the same each night, so you can share it that way. Also, please check out my blog. There's a link in the description for that, and there's also a very special link for Amazon Prime in the description. You get a free 30-day trial when you sign up through that link, and when you sign up through that link, you are also supporting this series, so please check that out and go sign up for a free 30-day trial of Amazon Prime. So we're just going to go ahead and get started tonight with the devotional, and tonight's devotional is from this book called Horse Tales from Heaven by Rebecca Dove, and we've been reading from this book since the very first Reverent Readings. So for those of you who don't know about Rebecca Dove, she used to work at a sort of a dude ranch and just leading pack trips, and then she was a cook on hunting trips. So most of these stories are true stories from experiences that have happened to her when she was out on the trails, just so you guys have some idea of what's going on in her devotionals. So tonight's devotional is called Keeping Time, and the Bible verse for it says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for men." Colossians 3:23. And before I go ahead and start with reading, I want to just invite you guys to stay after the reading to chat with me and share your thoughts with me. I would really love to know what you guys think. You can chat anytime during the devotional, or you can wait until after the reading is done, but use the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen, so please use that. Just share your thoughts, anything you'd like to add to tonight, and we can discuss it and just have a kind of a Bible study. So please feel free to do that, and if you're not watching live, please use the comment box down below to do that. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the reading. A light breeze blew as I surveyed the mountainside. I was working as a ranger, riding the wilderness to assess its health and check on campers and camps. I reined Tsar to a stop at a fork in the trail. Little Girl, my brown pack mule, was walking behind us, lowered her head. Using her agile lips like fingers, she grasped a long stalk of grass and looped it into her mouth with her tongue. I looked at the fork and wondered, do I have time to ride up to Sarbo, or should I stay in the valley bottom? The valley bottom will only take 2 hours to inventory, but if I go up to Sarbo, it's a 4-hour round-trip ride and maybe an hour to check things out. I pushed back my black cowboy hat and squinted at the sun. What time is it? I couldn't tell because it was the end of June, the time of summer's solstice. Daybreak was at 4:30 and sunset at 10. I wish I hadn't lost my watch, I thought. When I had camped by Cabin Creek, I'd taken off my watch and set it next to me while I knelt by water and washed up before bed. I didn't remember it until the next morning, and then I couldn't find it. I didn't miss it very much the first few days, but I sure did today. It was the 6th day of a 10-day trek into the woods for the U.S. Forest Service. Tsar, little girl, my black German shepherd Rye, and I were alone. I liked the hours best. When I outfitted, work had started before sunup and ended after sunset, the average workday about 18 hours long. But the USFS required only an 8-hour day. Tsar's neck glistened with sweat. I stroked it and looked at the position of the sun. 1 o'clock, or is it later? If it's 1 o'clock and I do the valley, I'll finish my day too early. If it's later and I ride up to Sarbo, I'll finish a little late. Glancing up at the draw toward Sarbo, I reasoned. But Sarbo is out of the way. There shouldn't be too much trash to clean up. Little girl rubbed her head on Star's rear. Star stomped his foot and shook his head at her. I flicked the lead rope toward little girl and she backed up. I patted Czar's neck to calm him down. Let's go, I announced, guiding him up one side of the trail. The next 2 hours, hooves and paws clopped and padded up the trail that wound through a mosaic burn. Stands of green pines stood in clusters next to scorched earth studded with charred pines. It was almost as if someone had drawn a line through the forest. One side toasted and the other stayed green. The trail skirted the steep hillside covered with huckleberry and snowberry bushes, and then crossed a stretch of burn. I looked at the blackened earth. A thin, gray-looking ribbon lay next to the trail. I groaned. Ugh, telegraph wire. Before the advent of radios, the USFS had strung telegraph wires from their cabins in the wilderness to the ranger stations. And part of my job was riding the forest of debris, so I would have to pack it out. What a pain. In my mind, I could see grains of sand slipping through an hourglass. I'll get it on the way back, I decided. The trail turned and followed the draw into Sarbo. When we rode into the high mountain basin rimmed by rock walls, pikas whistled a warning and scurried from their burrows. A small herd of deer grazing next to a rock wall lifted their heads and twitched their tails. Tsar walked into a stand of trees as I glanced at the sun. Although it was still high in the sky, it now tipped toward the mountains. I bet it's after 4. I tied Tsar and little girl to trees and dug a map out of my saddlebags. It crinkled as I unfolded it to find the X that marked the campsite I was to check. Taking bearings from the rim of the mountains and the sun, I hiked to the other side of the basin and into the burn. I poked around the charred remains next to several blackened pines. An odd-looking, black-textured something poked an inch above the ash between the trees. I kicked it with my boot. Clunk! It sounded like a piece of heavy metal. With the toe of my boot, I carved away the ash and tugged. Out came a cast-iron wood stove door weighing at least 20 pounds. I heaved the door aside, scooping away more ash. I unearthed a small cast-iron stove. I grunted as it rolled out of the hole. This thing must weigh 60 pounds. I eyed the hole and groaned. It was filled with broken glass, bottles, and rusty cans. What next? I fussed as I looked at the sun slipping into the western sky. Why did I come up here today? If only I had my watch. I pulled a rusty can out of the ground. This is going to take hours. I might not get back to camp before dark. Maybe I should ride out now and come back in the morning. I sighed. That would waste 4 hours travel time. I walked over to little girl and pulled the shovel off of her saddle. The next couple of hours, I dug out cans and bottles. I mantied them into loads that looked like overstuffed Santa sacks. The cans clattered when I slung them on little girl's saddle. Hefting the stove on top, I sandwiched it between the two packs and lashed it down. Whistling for Rye, I glanced at the sun. It must be close to 7, and I still have to pick up the wire. In my mind, a time clock flashed. Overtime! Ryan tagged at my heels as I led little girl over to Czar and swung into the saddle. The sunlight filtered sideways through the trees as we rumbled down the dusty trail, the cans rattling with each step. When we came to the downed telegraph wire, I dug my wire cutters out of the saddlebags and followed the gray ribbon of wire through the ash and up a short hill. I tried to wrestle the stiff wire into a roll, but instead of coiling, it sprang into a rat's nest. I tied 4 of those tangled balls into little girl's loads, patted her, and frowned. You look like an old peddler's mule with the axe, saw, and shovel poking out and that cast iron stove stuffed on top, along with the tangled mess of wire. I swung into the saddle and turned to watch the loads rock as little girl walked. They looked even. I eyed the sun again. I bet it's close to 8:30. I pushed Czar into a faster walk. Within a couple steps, the packs on little girl rattled and banged. They wobbled and threatened to slip off center. I slowed Czar to a crawl and growled. The USFS is certainly getting their money's worth today. The trail wound through brushy draws and small meadows. Nervously, I watched the packs. Czar and little girl's hooves clattered on the rocky trail as it narrowed to 4 feet wide, funneling next to a steep wall. The right side dropped down a cliff into a canyon. 50 yards later, I glanced at the packs and grimaced. The D-ring of the pack saddle had tipped off center. I eyed the steep slope. If the saddle rolls under little girl's belly, it'll pull her off balance and off the cliff. I studied the trail. It wasn't wide enough for me to reload her. I glanced in front of me. Will the packs ride okay until we get to the flat? With each step, the stove shifted, pushing the saddle toward the drop-off side. What am I going to do? I don't have room to adjust the packs, but I can't let them roll and watch her tumble off the cliff. I glanced at the sun slipping behind the mountain. Blast! I've got to do something now. If I can get that saddle to move a couple inches towards center, at least they won't roll while she's on the cliff. A crazy idea sparked in my mind. I reined Czar to a stop and stepped off the left side of the saddle and onto the rocky slope above him. I teetered while I bent over and wrapped his reins around the saddle to keep him from stepping on them. I warned him, "Don't you dare leave the country." Little girl eyed me as I shimmied across the slope above her. Firmly grabbing a bush to steady myself, I dug my left foot into the slope. Stones dislodged and clattered down. With my right foot, I gently stepped onto little girl's pack. Hunched over, I straddled between the slope and her pack. Holding my breath and waiting to see what she'd do, little girl's long, fuzzy brown ears swiveled like periscopes, but she didn't move. I breathed a sigh of relief. Good girl, I encouraged. Slowly, I drew my left foot off the bank, lifted it over the nest of wire, and put it on her pack. I moved my other foot onto the other pack. Little girl turned her head and batted her long black eyelashes as if saying, "Are you feeling okay?" Glancing at the mouth-watering tuft of grass, she took a step forward to snatch it. Her motion caused me to wobble. Standing on top of her packs, I threw my arms out to my sides for balance. Glancing down the cliff, the blood drained out of my face. I gritted my teeth and said, "Will you please stand still?" She stopped and munched. I slid both of my feet onto the left pack, put both arms out for balance, held my breath, and then jumped. The D ring inched to the left. Little girl didn't do anything except munch on long stems of grass. I grinned. Once again, I pounded my weight onto the left pack. The D ring slipped to the center just as little girl spied another bunch of grass and moseyed toward it. I lurched backward, almost losing my balance. I screeched, "Will you do your job and stand still?" I suddenly realized something. What more could I ask of little girl? What other mule would allow me to load packs that rattled, tie on goofy-looking balls of wire, and add a heavy wood stove, and then let me climb on top while standing on a cliff and jump up and down without freaking out? She was doing her job. She'd been giving me her whole heart since this morning. In fact, she'd been doing that more than I was. My struggle really hadn't been about losing my watch. Instead, it was a heart issue. I'd been watching the sun, trying to dole out just the right amount of work to satisfy the USFS without giving them any extra. Instead, I should have thrown my heart into my work, so when I crawled into my hammock in the evening, I would feel satisfied with what I'd accomplished. Little girl nibbled a couple of blades of grass. I jumped off her packs and onto the steep slope. I clawed my way in front of her and slid to the ground. Rubbing her forehead, I said, "You're quite a mule. Now let's get off this cliff." For the rest of my hitch at the Forest Service, I set goals that stretched me. One night, I pitched my tent in the same spot where I'd lost my watch. While kneeling next to the stream washing up before bed, my eye caught a glimmer in the grass. My watch! I picked it up and stared at it. The second hand was still going around. I grinned and thought, I lost my watch until I found my integrity. The rest of the summer and fall, I tucked my watch into the saddlebags. At the end of the season, I was shocked and pleasantly surprised when the USFS awarded me a certificate of merit for the wilderness work I'd accomplished. Lord, thank you for teaching me that it's not about the hours I put into a project. It's about how much of my heart I'm giving. Amen. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope you will all come back tomorrow night at 9:30 for the next episode of Reverent Readings. Please share any thoughts with me, anything you'd like to add, any questions you have, whatever you'd like to say in the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. So please do that, and while you are doing that, I would like to say hello to, I am going to try and say her name, and please forgive me if I don't, Jao Nato, who said hello. So hello to you too, and thank you very much for watching tonight, and thank you to all the rest of you who have watched. Just some thoughts that I had was that God wants us to do everything with a joyful heart, and even if there is no reward at the end. But like God says, is that when we do things, we will be rewarded tenfold. And even if it's not here on earth, if it's in heaven, then you just know that whatever you did here on earth is being built tenfold up in heaven, which is awesome to think about. But sometimes God does reward us here on earth, which feels very good also. So just remember that throughout this week and throughout the rest of your life, is that whatever you do, do it with all your heart and do it to the best of your abilities, and God will be very happy with you, and you'll feel very good about yourself too, as Rebecca learned that when she put her whole heart into it, she enjoyed her job much better. So thank you, Nicole, for watching tonight, and yes, we did have a crowd tonight, so thank you very much for watching and supporting me. I appreciate you so much. If there is not anything else, guys, I just want to remind you once again to please go on my Facebook page, The Well-Rounded Girl, and check that out, and just give it a like on Facebook, and also please check out my blog. There is a link in the description for that, and please subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss when I post videos, and please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. That would be so awesome. Thank you very much. And also check out the link in the description for Amazon Prime. Get a free 30-day trial of Amazon Prime when you sign up through the link in the description, so please go do that right now. I think that's about it, guys. Please tell all your friends to join us here every weeknight at 9:30 using the same link every night, so it makes it easy for you guys. And I will hopefully see all of you again tomorrow night at 9:30. Have a wonderful day tomorrow, guys, and I will see you tomorrow night. Good night, everybody.